I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a short agenda today. We'll vote on the articles for the special town meeting on March 29th, and then we'll vote the warrant for that special town meeting on the 29th. I'll go through, I'll read them quickly unless someone else wants to, and unless anyone has a suggestion to do it otherwise, I'll read all of them, and then if anyone has any comments, rather than reading one motion accept, we'll do, and then all at once. Good. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to assess an additional sum of money in real estate and personal property taxes for the purpose of funding the municipal government for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2013, or take any other action relative thereto, submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to make adjustments to the fiscal 2014 appropriations voted by the town pursuant to Article 9, Town Budget, or Article 11, Firefighters EMT, at the May 14th, 2013 annual town meeting by way of increase, decrease, or otherwise, including changes in funding sources, and to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow pursuant to any statute a sum or sums of money to carry out such adjustments, or take any other action relative thereto, submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow pursuant to any applicable statute a sum of money, or further to amend by decrease or increase or otherwise adjust the annual appropriations voted at the May 14th, 2013 annual town meeting, or take any other action relative thereto, submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the stabilization fund to augment available funding sources for the town's fiscal 2014 annual operating budget, or take any other action relative thereto, submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to appropriate or disapprove the $3,500,000 debt authorized by vote of the Narragansett Regional School District on March 5th, 2014 to pay costs of 1, replacing the existing oil-fired boilers serving the high and middle schools with a wood chip fired boiler to be located in the existing boiler room. 2, construction of a wood chip storage facility to be located adjacent to the boiler room. And 3, of all other costs incidental and related thereto, or take any other action relative thereto, submitted by the Select Board at the request of the school committee. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds an amount of money to be expended under the direction of Templeton Elementary School Building Committee for the schematic design portion of the feasibility study for the Templeton Elementary School located off Route 202, King Phillips Trail in Templeton, Mass., known as Crow's Hill, identified as Town Assessor Identification Number 2740, and described in the deed recorded at the Worcester County Registry of Deeds in Book 1600, page 313, for which feasibility study the town may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority. The MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any cost the town incurs in connection with the feasibility study in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town, submitted by the Select Board at the request of the school committee. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to authorize the town administrator to enter into a 5-year lease purchase agreement for an equipped ambulance for the fire department, and the appropriate $57,000 to fund the first year of such lease purchase agreement by transferring from such sum from the receipts reserved for appropriation, account number 22-300-3560-3283, or any other available funds, or take any other action relative thereto, submitted by the Select Board at the request of the Fire Chief. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to consolidate the offices of Treasurer and Collector and establish a joint Treasurer-Collector position and an Assistant Treasurer-Collector position to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen or their designee, or take any other action relative thereto, submitted by the Advisory Board. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to reaffirm votes taken under Articles 23 and 24 of the May 14, 2013 annual town meeting to transfer a total of $170,000 from retained earnings in the Sewer Department Enterprise Fund to pay for costs associated with the town's application for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts revolving fund loan necessary for the abandonment of the wastewater treatment lagoon, and to pay for the purchase of a used sludge hauling truck or take any other action relative thereto, submitted by the Board of Selectmen.
Chairman, I can explain a couple of changes.
Yes, please.
I did ask Attorney DeRensis to have a look at this. He agreed that we could consolidate the 3 articles into the one at the top, and if there, once we see what savings can be realized from the cuts and determine what, if any, free cash or other available funds we're going to use, we can use the motion to state a number for an override of Prop 2.5, which is what number 1 actually is. This would also require an election, obviously. It would require a ballot question that we did not have last time, so on the warrant. Article 2 is the same. Article 3, the same as before. Article 4 was one that was added. Remember, we agreed on Monday night that because a 2/3 vote is required to appropriate funds from the stabilization fund, that we should have a separate article on that. Article 5 is the same. Article 6 is the same. Article 7, Attorney DeRensis did suggest slight modification of the language here for the lease purchase agreement. Article 8 is as submitted by the advisory board. And Article 9 corrects the mistake that was made at the annual town meeting in appropriating from the retained earnings of the sewer department before the retained earnings had been certified. They were certified on June 19th, and the May town meeting appropriated these. So it simply reaffirms the votes that were, this is also language that was reviewed by the attorney. He said this is appropriate, will accomplish the objective. If the board is going to vote and approve this, I'd ask for a minute or two to run and get a clean copy, another copy, because you'll notice here I put submitted by the select board as the request. I need to put at the request. Change that. And Attorney DeRensis pointed out that only the Board of Selectmen can add warrant articles, and that rather than the language that I had, that all articles that are being sponsored by other entities should read, the language should read submitted by the select board at the request of the school committee. So,
Can I ask a question about Article 7?
Article 7, yes.
Yeah. We have the account number in there. There is nobody at town meeting that's going to know that account number is ambulance receipts. Can we also include the description of that account number? So it's 22300 3560 3283 ambulance receipts available for appropriation.
Yeah, I can add that language. I'll add that language if you would prefer, yes.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Well, yes. Today, Chief Laporte sent us this letter, and I didn't have a full amount of time to read it over until just now, but I had also asked about this the other night because there was Article 2, and then there is Article 7, of which you're going to fix. And, I mean, is this something that can just be, well, first of all, I don't agree with the cuts, so because we're going to lose more than we gain. But is this something that can just be discussed on town meeting floor? And, you know, that's, I mean, this would be very important to have. I guess I'm just asking, like, logistic-wise.
Yeah, sure, Chief.
My only suggestion would be to just strike the language after town charges to eliminate or Article 11 firefighters EMT, and then you can still discuss it, I would think, but I'm not sure if it's appropriate. That would be my
Which
suggestion.
article are you referring to?
Your Article 2, my Article 4.
So he's saying, correct.
After the language that states town charges of just or Article 11 firefighters EMT, I would strike.
For me personally, I think that if we, well, I also do not, well, I personally believe that we shouldn't be cutting firefighting because it's a revenue producing source with the EMT service. I think that we may subject ourselves to kind of claims of departmental favoritism if we kind of protect your department and no other. Even though, like I said, I don't think that we should cut it. I think that, for me at least, the best way to handle that would be through a thorough discussion on town meeting floor as to why we shouldn't cut from fire. But that's my thought personally. I don't know if others agree or have other input.
I agree, I was just asking the
Oh, sure,
question,
right.
really, like, is that the place to do that, is on town meeting floor, to have all these?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I don't agree with doing that either, the fact that the fire isn't an enterprise fund, it's just a regular funding source out of the budget, we have to give the people the opportunity to make that cut, should that be what they want to do. The enterprise funds are separate and budgeted differently, so that's why they're not in here. But the departments that are, funded through the general budget, unfortunately, I think have to be included, but then the discussion at town floor makes the pros and cons.
It struck me as odd that we were being singled out in that, and I understand it's probably because it was a new appropriation at last year's meeting. Was that the only reason that it was put on that way?
Right, it's because it was a separate article. It
Separate
wasn't in the
article.
normal town charges. That's why it has to be listed separately.
Because I believe that the town believes that you should be able to operate on your own. Those are the things, and I'm sure I'm not saying this right, you're separated because you're separated, and that they want you to be able to do the things that you're looking to do and to bring the revenue and to take care of our citizens. That was always my belief, because something else was, I thought, tried to happen last year, and it was voted down. So that's probably why.
Yes.
His budget, if they hadn't been touching it for the last 10 years, taking it and using it where they weren't supposed to be using it, it'd been all right. Fourth thing, you've got to have a fire company, you've got to have these guys doing it. I don't care which ones they're in. It's pretty nice when you can pick up the phone at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, it takes them 4 or 5 minutes to get to your house or less. I don't care what it costs. Don't even think of that, striking that. They got money in their budget to do it, let them do it. Let them do it to keep the thing what they got. Why take away from that department?
We'll have to.
The poor things, they got junk for trucks, half of them, to get out. It's just quite a thing to use, that ambulance service. Like today, 3 different calls, 4 different calls this morning. You have to take somebody to Worcester, you have to take somebody there. Why cut them at all? There's other places can be cut, not them. No way in hell should they cut that department. If your house is burning, let them don't come to your house then if you feel that way. Let them go buy your house. Forget about it. I had that last year, the same thing.
Yeah.
One sucked and sat right there. Well, I don't need a fire truck. I said, good, when your house burns, I'll go buy a house then. Jesus Christ, take it easy on them.
Anybody else have any?
Get nothing as it is.
Well, I'd just like to speak to
Sure.
what Pete Casper was talking to. I agree with you 100%.
Well, then don't touch them.
Pete, okay? You agree, I agree. There's very few people here.
Right.
We're having a town meeting, okay? And I believe that the majority of the people in the town are not going to touch this budget. But I'm obligated to present that. We are $505,000 short, or $378,000 short, okay?
He found all the money there. What took him an hour and a half? There's a girl come and find mistakes. They've been going on for the last 15
Right.
years.
In that time, it came
you're
out in our
punishing this
favor, okay?
Right?
Deb Wagner found mistakes that came out in our favor and reduced the shortfall. We're still not anywhere near close to getting free cash certified. And going back and forth, that number is going to fluctuate. There will be other things that are found, and they may not be in the town's favor. We're trying to close the books so that we can fix the shortfall for FY14. I don't like doing this. And sometimes you have to do things you don't like, to present options to people so that the town can vote on it at town meeting floor. I'm going to come out and strongly advocate that this account is not touched. And that's what I feel like I have to do as a selectman. That's why we were voted here. Not to make the easy decisions, but to make the tough decisions.
This fella here's fought hard for the last,
I agree with everything you're saying.
Are there, if there are no other comments, I'll take a motion to approve the articles as read.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote yes.
Can I take a minute here to get you an amended copy, which you can sign?
Yes, sir. We also have to vote on the warrant itself for the March 29th meeting. If I need to read it. Obviously not all the articles again. The warrant reads, and I won't read all the articles again, but to either of the constables of the Constables of the Town of Templeton in said county, in the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the precincts of the Town of Templeton, County of Worcester, qualified to vote in elections and town affairs, to meet in the Narragansett Regional Middle School, 460 Baldwinville Road, Baldwinville, in the Town of Templeton, on Saturday, March 29th, 2014, at 10 a.m. Then and there to act on the following articles, which are the 9 articles that we just voted in. And you are hereby directed to serve this warrant by posting attested copies thereof in each precinct, namely at the post office in Templeton, the post office in East Templeton, the post office in Baldwinville, at Cody's Market in Otter River, and at the town office buildings at 4 Elm Street, Baldwinville, and at 690 Patriots Road, Templeton, and by delivering a copy to each of the precinct clerks 14 days at least before the time of holding said meeting, and by causing notice of the same to be published once in the Gardner News, a newspaper published in said county in the city of Gardner, given under our hands this 12th day of March in the year AD 2014, signed by the Board of Selectmen. Do I have a motion to accept and post the warrant as read for the March 29th, 2014 special town meeting?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll vote. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, that sums up our agenda for today. Do any selectmen have any comments or future agenda items they'd like to request at this time for a meeting which, if I'm not mistaken, will be on the 24th, correct? That's our next selectmen meeting, so no meeting next Monday. Right. Anything? Okay, if not, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Julie?
Sorry.
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Thank you for coming, everyone.